Demonstrators in Egypt say social media helped them put an end to Mubarak's 30-year regime. Thousands used Facebook and Twitter to organize the protests. Joining us now to talk about social media's role in the change is Jillian York. She is project coordinator at Harvard University's Open Net Initiative, that is at the Berkman Center. Jillian is on the phone right now from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Jillian, thanks so much for joining us this morning. To what extent are we going to see other totalitarian regimes crack down on sites like Twitter and Facebook?
Well, they already have. We've got countries across the region that block social media sites. Syria is a really good example, although they just actually unblocked a few of those sites a few days ago. But when we look at that, we have to wonder, is that just an easier means for the government to spy on its citizens?
Jillian, one of the things being talked about on Capitol Hill now is whether we should be limiting the export of surveillance software to repressive governments. What's your view on that?
Well, I think that is something that we should be looking at. I also think that we should be looking at limiting the export of filtering software, the software that is used to block websites to other governments.
What are the sort of movements behind the scenes, Jillian? Let's just say even if a U.S. company does not sell, refuses to sell this kind of censure software, I mean, there's always a workaround, right? There's always a right price for a product.
Right. No, this is true. I mean, there's always a workaround. There's always a way of getting it. But I still think that, particularly in light of Secretary of State Clinton's internet freedom policies, I think that this is something that the State Department at least should be focused on.
Jillian, in these sort of situations, what is the role of the telecommunications providers? There was this very interesting episode where the Egyptian government ordered Vodafone to send out a text message in Egypt during the protests. What's your feeling on that?
Right. Well, this is a tricky one, and Vodafone came out with a statement afterward that said, if we hadn't have done this, it would have meant, further crackdowns to our company, perhaps more effect on our employees. So they're clearly debating internally the risks and the benefits to doing something like that. I would love to see these companies stand up to the government, but I think at sometimes that would actually mean, worse things for the people who work there.
Yeah, Vodafone is facing some pressure because the messages that were sent out were pro-Mubarak messages, which now in hindsight looks like the wrong side to have been part of. What about, Jillian, for these companies, even for the infrastructure companies, are any infrastructure companies going to be allowed to build new cell phone towers, new cable lines in totalitarian states?
I'm actually not sure about the answer to that question.
Okay, Jillian, we'll leave it there. Short and sweet. Thank you very much. Jillian York is the project coordinator at Harvard University's Open Net Initiative, also at the Berkman Center. She is a writer for Global Voice Online.